Hello, and welcome to week 2 of the REL 6 and 7 div preview. As you can see, I am home alone today. Shadorra is being an ogre, and by that I mean he's sick. So in the interest of timeliness and making sure this actually gets done, I am going to be doing this solo this week. This is week 2, so we are going to be taking a look at some matches that got played this week, one from each division. We're going to be trying to get to everybody at least once throughout the course of the season. That's not necessarily possible, especially since we will be looking specifically at sort of playoff relevant matches as we get further and further into the season. It'd be a little boring to look at the teams every single week, so we're going to be doing every other week we do a match from each game. Unfortunately, it will just be me this time because Shadorra is sick. He will be. I'll keep track of my the predictions and stuff for myself. He'll be doing his predictions separately later and sending them to me so that we have them recorded in the YouTube video and all that kind of good things for our prediction competition. I guess we can get right into game 1 from Div 6. We're going to be taking a look at another bloody ball versus Wood United, so Luke 4444 and Grey Wesker. I have looked at Luke 4444 before because he was in, I think, Div 8 before or Div 7 maybe last season when I reviewed him. One of the coaches that is in this match messaged us over the course of the week and said it was an interesting match to look at, so therefore we are going to take a look at it. Unfortunately, to whoever messaged, sorry that it's just going to be me looking at it because Shadorra is sick, but sometimes that happens. Let's jump into the game. So we've got Grey Wesker coaching Skaven and Luke coaching Wood Elves. We've seen Wood United before. They were a massive Wood Elf team that got cut down pretty quickly, but there's still some good players lying around, including a movement grab tree. And there's some good players on the Skaven team too, so I'm excited to give this a watch, and I hope you guys are looking forward to it as well. Here we go. So we've got a wizard available for Grey Wesker, and Luke has nothing in terms of inducements. The Skaven have taken Skitter Stab though, which is certainly a thing. Not only is it an extra gutter runner, so an extra movement 9 in a matchup where movement matters, considering it's a sort of agi matchup, so we've got the 5 gutter runners available. He's also stab, and it turns out stab against armor 7 is not actually terrible. Although not Nylock. So we'll see what I imagine we're setting up for a stab here, but yeah, we want to get away from that tree, set up for a stab. If not, the stab fails, you can then use the rat to block him off so that Skitter isn't marked. He's also hired a tackle mercenary, it seems, so that's there's a lot of inducements on the behalf of this Skaven here. We'll see where this goes. The classic agi on agi matchup, lots of movement. The tree even has movement. And here we go, kick. Ooh, perfect defense means we can just instantly slap this tree on the Mighty Blow Storm Vermin, so like that's really neutralizing that big threat. David has followed. Thank you, appreciate that. What do you mean what's happening here? This is the Div 6 and Div 7 div review. We look at matches every other week from that occurred over the course of the weeks rather than teams, because it is kind of boring to look at teams over and over again. And a touchback. So this was a match that was, let me pause for a second. This was a match that was recommended to me by one of the coaches from this game. Eventually, we try to get to everybody eventually at least once, but if your game you think is particularly interesting for some reason, whether it's a good game or it's just fun, feel free to poke us and we will prioritize casting that one over other ones, essentially. Although we also do want to make sure that we get to everybody at least once if we can, so we will attempt to do that, but sometimes it's hard when matchups don't work out, you know, or if we get close to playoffs and there's playoff relevant matches. Anyway, we give the ball to the block sidestep gutter runner. So he's a great ball carrier, annoying to get rid of. The nice thing about the perfect defense is we've just neutralized the Storm Vermin and Skitter like instantly. Skitter can dodge away pretty easily. Don't need Mighty Blow when Armor 7 is a thing. But it's neutralizing that one Mighty Blow against the Armor 7, which is a pretty big deal, because this guy is only just block. And you're also neutralizing Skitter's stab ability, which isn't, like, incredibly impactful, but it's certainly useful against things like Armor 7 Blodge War Dancers. Some of these players are ridiculous. Like, look at this catcher. Look at this lineman. That tree's pretty good, too. Moving the rat up. Well, he is block and dodge and sidestep. Makes him slightly more annoying to get the ball off of. There's very little guard here, and he is you know, strength 2, so it's not terribly difficult for you know, the strip ball war dancer to go in, because he does have tackle and strip. This is Div 6. We'll be looking at Div 7, a Div 7 game after this one. Right, and are we even going for it right now? Because all of these assists are gone, so this is a 2-die block from the square, and it's pretty likely to just remove the ball. The movement 3 tree means we can throw the tree on 2 players, one of them being tackle. It's is the only tackle on the team, so that's pretty significant. It's not terribly difficult for rats to dodge away, but it's not impossible. And here goes what we expected, the leap into the cage. Weird animation bug, but we do find the POW. And the War Dancer just has the ball, because Wood Elves. Although Skitter doing a thing with prehensile tail. Wow. And the dodge failed. I'm surprised he went for the dodge, because that was a 4+ dodge. Dodging into that square. Did we forget about prehensile tail, maybe? And turning over, allowing Skitter to go to work with stab. Does accomplish a stun, but not a removal. The big thing is if we can get this Mighty Blow to accomplish something. And the War Dancer is exposed right now. There isn't a good way to hit him, because we have to utilize the guard in order to do so. Because your guard and Mighty Blow is on the same player, unfortunately, here. But that's an injury on on just a loner, so that's okay. Dodging the tackle away from the tree to make sure we mark up that War Dancer. So not only is he now on prehensile tail, he's also on tackle. And we're just going to foul him. I don't blame you. I would foul him too. That's huge. Like, so as we saw on turn 1 right there, the Wood Elves have a really easy time stripping the ball from a gutter runner with strip ball and tackle. But removing that strip ball tackle threat for the rest of the drive is incredible for the Skaven. Like, they are way safer holding the ball now. I think that dodge out might have been a mistake. He had other players free. None of them really had leap, but that was a 4+ dodge. That's still a 75% because of the dodge skill, but I think there's a better way to do that. You could have dodged into a different square, maybe. Tree getting a block. Turns out the tree isn't effective against Armor 7 as the rats are. Here comes a War Dancer. Are we trying again? Yeah, we are. I mean, despite it being not tackle or strip ball, it's still a 2-die. And we break armor there. Armor 7 versus Armor 7 is entertaining. You think the Mighty Blow has a big advantage, but he hasn't managed to use it yet. The rat just catches it, though? Like, whatever. This game is already dumb, and it's like turn 2. This game is already dumb. Surf me, I dare ya. Oh, running away with the catcher. We have returned this guy was a scoring threat down there, and he has returned now. I think likely because of this, the fact that this rat caught it, and he didn't have another way of getting the ball off, so he's got to kind of back off, I think. Here comes the Mighty Blow, finally blitzing with Mighty Blow. Onto this block lineman. We do find the knockdown. Mighty Blow on Armor 7. Turns out it's kind of good. Plywood is KO'd. Just a KO though, so there's a chance of him coming back at least, and he's safe technically. But this War Dancer failing the dodge and then getting fouled means like he's gonna get punched around. Thankfully, there is only one tackle on the Skaven team. This is a little aggressive. We're throwing a lot of Skaven. If we move the ball up here, I don't think you can afford to do that. I think he's just trying to tie up some of these players. It's not really, you don't really have a good way of... Wait, why are we fouling with the ball carrier? Okay. Send off. You deserve to be sent off for that. No. At least the word answer is okay, but man, that was a scary thing to do. Good lord. Well, another KO. I mean, the rats kind of have this under control for now with all the removals they're getting. Turns out the elves are still pretty capable of doing things, though, with people like Putt Putt and well, there's still another ward answer. Shadowing! Shadowing? Yeah! I love Skitter. What a dumb player. Dodge. Shadowing? Yeah! So many dice to get this wrestle dodge player. I mean, to be fair, they're 2+ dodges because he's Agi 5, and so prehensile tail is irrelevant, but this shadowing is so funny. Did he just eventually give up on the blitz and hit the shadowed Skitter at the end of it? I'm so confused. The tree is being held up by one loner line rat right now, though, which is exactly what the rats want. Like, if you just neutralize that tree and stop him from getting places, you just spend the rest of your time punching elves. More removals, more better. I really think that was supposed to be an attempt to wrestle the ball, and then the shadowing just kept working, so eventually he gave up and wrestled Skitter, which I think is kind of funny. Yeah, keeping tackle on that word answer, but Agi 5 means that, you know, he just leaps. The 2+ leap. Prehensile tail doesn't do anything against leap. It is only dodge. Prehensile tail's also over here. Tackle doesn't do anything against leap, I guess. Sidestep. Throw the guard in here, and we can take away these assists, I guess. Or secondary guard. Yeah, so we're gonna just take a hit on the ball with this ward answer, I think. Yep. 2+ leap fails. Yeah, we're gonna reroll that. Okay, so we make that leap, and we find this one doesn't have tackle, so we don't actually get to knock down this this gutter runner. If only this ward answer was around. Well, we're now gonna 3-die with the tree. If we can remove that line rat, then perhaps we won't be stuck anymore. But he is pretty useless on this side of the pitch, regardless. Man, there are 5 elves on the pitch by turn 4, and there's Skitter Stab doing a thing, KOing, and the Skitter Stab doing work this game so far. This is incredible. Just like, you don't get to play with elves. You're not allowed to have anybody. No elves for you. Mighty Blow Blitz on the ward answer, exactly where you want to hit it. We find the POW. We are POW hunting for the most part, but finding that Mighty Blow is huge. No result. So I would be very surprised if we don't see a foul here. We don't have an incredible foul, though, because these guys are both guards, so they're actually... And we have no players really available to assist without also, you know, tying up the player here. So it's not going to be a great foul if we decide to do it. But... I don't, yeah, and we'd also have to dodge out. I think the correct choice here is to just punch elves and try to keep them locked up. You've got both the guard elves here kind of incapable of doing anything. This elf is caged, and this ward answer is, I think, out of range. This ball is pretty safe right now. Just going for it with this elf, though. Throwing some dice, finding the 2-die. Wrestle works. Man, sometimes elves. Sometimes elves. Ooh, skull, though, so we're gonna have to reroll that. Armor 7 failing for the rats for once? Yeah, and that's one of the storm vermin, so it's an important piece to remove. So who do we have? The movement 9 catcher, it turns out, can just sort of get wherever he wants. He has one more going for it to pick up the ball if he wants, but then he can't get anywhere, and he's still based against the gutter runner. So I don't know if we want to do that. Although it's pretty easy for the gutter runner to just pick it up. Still, I'm terribly easy, I guess. It's a 3+ dodge and a 3+ pickup. Not super easy, but certainly not impossible with a reroll, and certainly way easier if we like to like bolt this catcher, but I don't think we do that. Yeah, put the prehensile tail on the ball and on the catcher and threaten the stab if he doesn't do anything about it. Tackle on the war dancer. Mark up the ball in case something goes horribly, horribly wrong, I think, and then we're probably going to blitz this catcher. We do, with a 3-die. He can sidestep onto the ball, though, and scatter it if he wants to, so we'll see what happens there. He likes to do so, and it takes it out of tackle zones, but the rats don't really have anybody who's free to get it. Well, there's this, I think there's that gutter runner. Well, injuring another elf. Mighty Blow doing a thing. I mean, in the Armor 7 matchup, it turns out Mighty Blow is massive. Even just having one. We've got this gutter runner who can get in there. And he does. And he grabs it. Are we going to score? Nope, we're going to fail the GFI. Just like a cascade of failure on both sides. They just keep failing things. Okay, so do we do the other GFI with no reroll? Looks like we do not. Probably don't want to give the Wood Elves an opportunity to 2-turn. They have a very easy 1-turn as long as this catcher is still around. So there's the War Dancer, and we find the wrestle down. At worst case, you could have forced him to score, and then you would have had 2 turns to score yourself, which turns out is pretty good as Wood Elves. Or we can knock the ball out of his hands and maybe prevent a score. Ball recovery might be difficult here, though, because we've already used the blitz, and we don't have much movement left. Yeah, it's a 3+ pickup, and I don't think we can afford to reroll it. So that is, and that scatter is bad. It's not an easy situation for the Wood Elves, because they, like, even if they just mark the ball, it's a very easy blitz away for the Skaven. Although he blitz stabs and fails. But, I mean, we can easily 3-die block him here. And then we find a POW. And the pickup was hard, like, not particularly easy. And but just marking up the ball didn't really make it any harder for the Skaven. So I think you had to go for the pickup there. Maybe just hurl it. Mighty Blow guy needs to become more relevant. But there are 3 elves in a tree on the pitch already. Gutter Runner's gonna grab it. Do we score now? We do. So Rat Damon and another Bloody Bell. This is gonna make the score 1-0. We can watch these lovely orc cheerleaders. Look at that makeup. Let's see, the elf KOs here are a pretty big deal. Let's see who's recovering. We get the War Dancer back, which is certainly important. And we're going to have another chance in 2 turns, I believe. And the Wood Elves do get their 2-turn attempt, which isn't incredibly difficult for them, but they do have to be aware of the Storm Vermin, and they have to be aware of Skitter, and they have to be aware of this Strip Ball Gutter Runner, because there isn't actually Sure Hands anywhere. Because why would you take Sure Hands on an Agi 4 team? Bad news is one of those linemen is the guard. One of the guard players is out. Good news is he's only badly hurt, so he's not gone forever. Bad news is, though, the elves don't have a bench because they had loners available. So, I mean, they're permanently down 2 players the rest of the game unless they can even this up somehow. And unless they start making more tree blocks, which is kind of hard to do sometimes. Quick Snap certainly helps if we're going for a 1-turn here. Don't think we are, though, because the movement 9 is not on the line. I'm surprised by that. 1, 2... Oh, you see, we can put the tree in here now. We can even tree blitz. But that seems dumb. GFI tree blitz. Oh. I'm surprised we're not utilizing the might. Like, that's the only Mighty Blow you have. Trying to even up the player count certainly could make a difference there, so I'm surprised we're not going for it. But on the other hand, we can also use the tree to be a relatively safe anchor for this 2-turn. Like having the tree in the way, stand firm in strength 6 is kind of hard to shift coming from this angle. However, we still have gutter runners that can go this way, and it's going to be hard to screen that off. Just don't have very many elves. We're gonna have to find a knockdown here. Yeah, we have to reroll that. And so you have to find a knockdown here, and then you have to move this War Dancer in the way. Or else the Skaven have a pretty easy time getting at this. Are we going to go for the War Dancer, or are we just going to try to dodge cage dive it here? We're hitting the War Dancer. We can tree blitz, which is very funny. This is actually not terrible. So we can tree blitz the strength 3 gutter runner, and because grab, even if we get a push, we just put him over here, and then he's not in the way of this this catcher anymore, which I think is really funny. Catcher's still gonna have to dodge past this gutter runner, but actually the War Dancer is gonna be able to block that gutter runner afterwards. Armor break, but it's okay. I think this is really funny. We can blitz this gutter runner and grab him out of the way, and then we have the War Dancer can hit this gutter runner. And although he has sidestep, so we probably don't want to do that, honestly, because it could put him in the way here. No tree blitz, disappointed. We're just gonna hit with the War Dancer and accomplish the same thing by knocking down this strength 3 gutter runner. Was that a leap foul? That's some style points, but we're also not scoring. What? What? Why? Why did we leap War Dancer foul? I'm so confused. I can't imagine a world in which it's ever worth it to foul with a War Dancer. I mean, the leap foul is style points, certainly, but you just cost yourself a War Dancer for nothing and prevented a score, which would have been like a couple 3+ dodges. I would have liked to see the tree blitz because grab is a thing, and that's funny. Maybe he forgot. Yeah, he might have forgotten to blitz. Like he might have been trying to blitz the gutter runner and forgot to press blitz before leap, and then didn't. And then forgot to press blitz before leap and like sort of tilted a bit, I guess. I'm gonna pause that for a second. You could have blitzed with the tree, but then this gutter runner would have still been in the way, and he had sidestep. So I think I kind of agree with what he did there in that we want to blitz with the War Dancer, because you could leap into this spot and then blitz the gutter runner, and then even with sidestep, if you don't knock him over, you can't go into this square to prevent the catcher from actually moving forward, and then the War Dancer would just follow, and then we had no dodges there. So it seems very likely to me that was David was I think David is right in that was probably very likely a forgot to press blitz first, because otherwise that makes no sense. But if you did press blitz first, that's a really good play. So unfortunate that he forgot to press blitz, I think, there, but the play was the correct one, I think, and a very smart play. But Luke seems very intent on using this movement tree as like a protection piece, which, I mean, that's what sort of trees are for, honestly. But he keeps not getting tree blocks on the line, and he's down so many players. I feel like trying to utilize that, you know, basically free 3-die with Mighty Blow is something that you should at least consider. Although the counter argument against that is since you have so few players, you kind of have to use the tree to protect your dude, because otherwise, like, your good players are going to get blitzed and hit by the Mighty Blow guy. So there's that to consider as well. We do have to remember the Skaven are up 1-0 currently. This is the Wood Elf drive, so even if the Skaven let them score, as long as it's not on turn 16, the Skaven have a pretty easy shot of scoring again in 1 or 2 turns. They're up so many players and they have gutter runners. And the wizard is available. So Luke needs to be careful here, because if keeping your catcher on the sidelines, while yeah, he's got sidestep, so he's not likely to be surfed, a lightning bolt gives a 3 in 8 chance, so slightly less than 50% of the ball scattering out. And if it scatters out, it could be here, it could be here. Turns out gutter runners are fast and could probably take advantage of it if it happens to scatter out. And with so few elves being caged in like this, you might be kind of screwed. Man, look at this wall of rats. Like, you have no players. I have players. Enjoy. Like, try to score when you physically can't get by. Like, it's not even you have to roll dice. They're hard. It's just here. You can't get through. You don't have any players. You can't get through this. Rerolling a line rat dodge? A loner? Rerolling a loner line rat dodge, for that matter. Was that not a loner? No, that was this guy. I was thinking with this dude for some reason. He's okay. Tree has taken root, which is certainly unfortunate, because we can't use him to try to break through this at all. And we've committed to this side, so we're gonna hold here. Like, he's probably just gonna keep his catcher just next to that tree, and be like, well, come and get me, I guess. Oh, I don't know if I like this. This is a bit potatoey. Oh, he has a word answer in the end zone. I didn't even notice that. Derp. Never mind. That's fine. I forgot the word answer was there. If that pass didn't work, you were screwed, but I think you had to go for it, and it was pretty likely to work. I thought he was just moving the catcher there and leaving him, and I was like, well, you're gonna get sacked. But I forgot the word answer move there. Well, that's the way to deal with that. If you can't move forward, move somebody else there and throw it to him. That works. Skaven are back to full strength, having their other Storm Vermin come back. Wood Elves are still down 4. But it is 1-1. However, it is now the Skaven drive, and the Skaven are under no pressure and have a wizard available. So this is going to be 5 turns or so of brutalizing some elves with Mighty Blow at every opportunity. And then just scoring when we get close to turn 16. And if we need to, we have the wizard in pocket in case something terribly, terribly wrong happens. Just fireball the tree for style. Like, trees are weak to fire. They're flammable. Just fireball it. What could possibly go wrong? You only have to roll like a 4+, 10+, 11+. Just roll 4, 5, 6. It's fine. And then double 6 to make a dead tree. Perfect. Flawless plan. We are going to set up for a stab on the line, presumably. You want to make sure you have somebody there capable of blocking. I don't like the Mighty Blow on the tree. There we go. That makes more sense. He has this guy here for block. If the stab fails, we can block the guy off skitter. Or we can uphill the tree with block. Stab has failed. So now we can utilize the block from the Storm Vermin to knock this guy over, and you just follow up off the tree. Classic stab play, or chainsaw play, you know, stab or chainsaw thing, and then use another player to push him off if it fails, to keep your stab or chainsaw safe. There's 2 line blocks. We follow up to leave this loner rat on the tree, although the tree just has to do 1 block here, and then he's marking the Mighty Blow, which is a little scary. It's a 3+ dodge to get away, and you'll certainly do it, but like the Luke is going to take that because it's a chance he avoids a mighty blow hit for a turn or two, and that's a big win for him, considering he has very few players. But like, yeah, just all mans, here we go. Like, have some rats. The Gutter Runner Blitz to 2-die the catcher and KO him, because Gutter Runner's the most violent players on the planet. Fails the GFI though. Good thing we have an extra reroll, but I don't think you actually need to reroll this, but you got one for free, so I mean, you might as well, I suppose. Never mind. Snake Eyes. It was to mark up this catcher so he wasn't free to do a thing. Because the ball's not actually safe, but the catcher can't get there, so it's not the end of the world. We do get to block this line rat. We're gonna blitz him now. It's the only tackle on the team, so no, we're gonna blitz this Gutter Runner. Also makes sense. Takes the reroll, the greed reroll, but pays off in that it's a knockdown. Oh, tree takes root. That's so bad. That would have been if only I'm thinking halflings. I was gonna say that would have been worth a reroll, but no. Wood elf trees have loner. Halfling ones do not. That's really bad because now we can't mark up these 2 rats with this one tree. This tree is useless for the rest of the game, basically, and there are 4 elves. 5 elves. This is going to be really hard for Luke without this tree capable of doing work. No tackle. Means that the War Dancer lives to strip another day. But we can just mark up all of the elves in the world. I mean, yeah, if you're ahead players, you might as well foul. There's another KO. And a send-off. So this ref is on point, sending people off like left and right currently. Blocking the tackle piece. War Dancer attempts to dodge out and successfully does so. And we're gonna 1-die the Gutter Runner. And we find the POW. How much movement does he have left? Is it enough? He can double GFI to grab the ball, and he has it. Aggressive, certainly really aggressive, but I like it. We can get another. That doesn't really help that much. We're gonna Lightning Bolt. The Lightning Bolt is something to be aware of. That's the Lightning Bolt used, though, which is certainly good for Luke. Getting rid of that. This is an aggressive play, and, you know, had a pretty good chance of not working out, honestly. But, I mean, when you have so few players left, I think you have to make the aggressive plays and just hope. And we did bait out the Wizard, so that's a really good... unfortunately, it stunned the War Dancer, but baiting out the Wizard is a pretty big deal. As long as this isn't an armor break, which, honestly, it probably will be. Oh, no, we don't get to knock him down. We're actually in pretty good shape, like, surprisingly. Yeah. No, we might be able to just get this gone. I would have considered hucking that to Skitter, but it's going to be a very difficult dodge for this this catcher, and the War Dancer is stunned, so it's probably pretty safe in the hands of that Gutter Runner. Another armor break. Just a stun, though, but, I mean, the Wood Elves have a loner lineman and this catcher who's in a cage to play with this turn. So, I mean, he's going to go for the dodge play. I mean, you might as well. A lot of dice rolled to mark up that Gutter Runner, and then we're going to dodge and blitz with this Line Elf. I mean, aggressive plays, I love it. You got to do something. No strip, though, means we're just pushing this back. And over to the Skaven. But slowing the Skaven down, I mean, puts him under a bit more pressure and makes you less likely to take more Mighty Blow hits. I mean, the Skaven have enough players to literally just put a 4-man cage around every one of the Elf players. Not quite, but I mean, it's pretty silly how controlling they can be over these elves. While just running away with gutter runners because, you know, movement 9. This guy's going to be incredible once he gains some more levels. Imagine this gutter runner with strip ball, tackle, horns. Ugh. Ugh, wrestle. Strength 4 on the blitz. Gross. Even strength 3 is goofy enough. And another send-off. Ref on point. Luke doing more removals with his face than anything else. But that puts the rats down to an even 11 players, so if Luke can get any more removals, they'll stay out for the rest of the 2 turns that are left. Are we just trying to get the Ward Answer out of harm's way? I think we might be. Slash leaving him as a scoring threat, technically. We do armor break Skitter? Not bad. That is a send-off dancer. You missed a leap foul. We're fairly confident that it was a case of I forgot to press blitz before doing the leap, and then like a tilt into foul. But yes, that is a sent off ward answer because he leapt fouled. I think you score on Cheese Whiz. You'd like to level up that strength 3. Be an ultra safe. You still get to mighty blow this loner line elf though. And here we go. Just a push though. Oh, good thing it's a Storm Vermin, not a turnover. And it's done. So Luke has a movement 9 catcher, a Raj lineman, and a Ward Answer to play with this turn. Taking away those assists. And we're going to go for it. Roll some dice and hope it works. Nope. The loner tackle. The induced merc with tackle paying off hardcore there. Preventing the reroll and the dodge and badly hurting that movement 9 Ward Answer. If that feels good, you know, justifying your inducements like that feels really nice for the rats. It probably doesn't feel very good for Luke. I mean, do we blitz the Ward Answer? Can we even blitz the Ward Answer? I don't know. We certainly can, and we are certainly going to. Finding the POW, I would have rerolled that too if it didn't work. And there's a KO. Oh man, Rat's just doing work on these elves here. Like, well, it's turned, like, despite having all of this happen to him, it's turn 15, and it is 1-1. I mean, to be fair, this game was over 2 or 3 turns ago, but like, on turn 12, it was not over. It was 1-1, turn 12, and Luke had like 4 or 5 players on the field. So honestly, it's not the end of the world. It's well played by him, certainly. The both down is really unfortunate because we're gonna have to wrestle that. I think he would have liked to have. Well, he couldn't have gotten. He probably would have liked to dodge in and get in the way, at least. But no opportunity there. So. Cheese Whiz makes it 2-1. That's going to level that gutter runner, I think, or at least bring him close to leveling. That's a strength 3 gutter, so more levels is going to make a big deal. Big difference, sorry. So that's 2-1. Rat Damon getting the MVP. And Putt Putt getting the MVP. So, fortunately for Luke, none of them were perms. A couple badly hurts and stuff, but that is going to be a 2-1 game for Another Bloody Bell and Grey Whisker. I'm going to bring up myself again, because I'm going to move to the REL 7 match that we're going to take a look at. And I don't want to spoil anything. Nobody from REL 7 messaged us to tell us that any particular game was interesting. So we are going to go for one that was a contentious pick. I predicted, so we're going to take a look at the Horn Stars 2018 and the Mordheim Crypt Horrors. So this is Dr. Spagooters and My Nemo. I predicted that the Undead, so Dr. Spagooters, were going to take this one. And Justin or Shadorra predicted that the Chaos, the Horn Stars, were going to take this one. So we're going to take a look at this one, and this way we have a little bit of tension to see who gets the contentious points here. And now that I've gone past the score screen, I can bring us back into the game while we load here. Here we go. Gonna have the Mordheim Crypt Horrors, coached by Dr. Spagooters. And we're gonna have the Horn Stars, coached by My Nemo 1, Horn Stars 2018. What? I never do anything but. That's not true. This isn't like a serious in-depth review of play. This is more a shoutcast sort of format, I guess, where we just sort of talk about what's happening and take a look at it and get excited and that sort of thing, rather than do a real in-depth, this is what I think you should have done type play. Let's get these skills up there. And there's the kick, a blitz for the Crypt Horrors. Thankfully, the kick is pretty deep, so they can't really take too much advantage of it for the against the Chaos. We are going to get to blitz something and maybe prevent a claw hit. This is the scariest piece on the team for the Undead. Keeping this Chaos Warrior on the floor is huge. One, because he's not going to be able to utilize his guard. And two, because he's movement 4, so all you can do is stand up and move 1 square, and the claw is a big scary thing against the mummies. Mighty Blow is certainly a thing that exists. Mighty Blow spamming against Armor 8 is useful, as we just see here, injuring a zombie. Fracturing his skull even, but I think he's going to regen. Yep, so he's okay. But the Mighty Blow doesn't do that much against the mummies, and the way the Undead win this is with the mummies, I think. Because the Chaos don't have a crazy amount of kill or guard yet. There's only 1 guard? There's only 1 guard. So it's going to be the Chaos only having the 1 guard means that the 2 strength 5 and the 1 strength 4 piece are pretty important. We're going to GFI to blitz this, so that's a little scary, but I think I probably would too, because this is an important piece, and he's niggled, and this is Claw Mighty Blow, so I would have committed a reroll to that too. And we do KO him, so that's a big deal. Yeah, the mummies and this white are going to be a big deal against these Chaos. That strength with that out very much guard is going to be difficult to deal with. We're going for a Vanity Pass? We are. Oof. And I think that's fine, especially since it worked. It levels your player. It is aggressive. Like, if that failed, this ghoul was just in range of the ball. But then again, like, it's a Vanity Pass. That's what they're for. Like, they're never the right play if your whole plan is to win. Because it's slightly more risky for something bad to happen. But I think it was certainly good, considering this guy was 1 SPP from leveling. I just might not have done it on literally the first drive. But some people do that. I'm very, very safe. Like, I'm so safe that I will sit there and not do anything with the ball in the hands of somebody rather than try to hand off to somebody who could use SPP, just because I am unbearably safe sometimes. This is exactly the scary part, is getting too many of these players based up on mummies. This isn't too bad, because we can We can 1-die this pretty easily. Or we can 2-die this pretty easily, I mean. With Claw. So this is a little scary for this mummy. Blitz the ghoul. Tackle doing work. Ghouls are also really important for the chaos to target because armor 7. I'm going to switch views. I'd like to go from the offensive side, I think. Ghouls are important to target, considering their armor 7 and no regen, so the mighty blow does work against them. This is how we can get this easy 2-die. It is committing pretty hard to this side, but that's not terrible considering that we've got some players over here already. Yeah, I like that reroll. Because that is a huge deal for this drive. That is massive. Why do the Undead have 5 rerolls? That's crazy. They also have an Igor. 5 is too many. Don't have 5 rerolls. I don't know where that 5th one came from. If it was a kickoff event, then you shouldn't have had 4 rerolls. If you had 4 rerolls and induced one, what are you doing? That's too many. That's a lot of TV being wasted, I think. Removing that mummy is massive. It's a little scary being down to 1 reroll on turn 2. You're just gonna have to be really careful for the rest of this half. You've kind of been as greedy as you can afford to be now, I think, right? You had a greedy block on that mummy. I think that was absolutely the right play, don't get me wrong, and the greedy vanity pass means that we just can't afford to be greedy anymore, right? It's fine that we did that. Greed is a good thing, especially on chaos teams, because they need to sometimes just get a little lucky to level. But we just cannot afford to be greedy anymore, so we need to be careful. Targeting ghouls, good plan. With the tackle beast. Not finding a knockdown is unfortunate, but we can't afford to do anything more greedy here. Inducing a reroll when you have 4 seems aggressive to me. I don't think I would do that. The Igor is fine. I like the Igor because we're going to have to... See, I wouldn't have taken that because now you have no rerolls. Honestly, you're already ahead 3 players. I would have just left that Chaos Warrior on that mummy, right? Sure, he's going to get blocked, but that mummy doesn't have block. I would not have done that. The Igor is good because you have a lot of Mighty Blow, so he might want to try to keep his players around. Rerolling regen can be a big deal. I don't like the extra reroll. Also, I would not have made that block, let alone rerolled it. If you were going to do anything there, I would have dodged out, I think. But now we get a couple more Mighty Blow hits. There's one. Merc Knight with Leader. How much is that even? That's like 160k, I think? That's way more than a reroll. Well, how much does a Merc Knight with Leader cost? That's a lot. Targeting ghouls. There's an injury. No regen available either, so that ghoul is just out. And that is a really annoying ghoul with Lodge Step. That's massive for the Chaos. This is going really well for the Chaos so far. That's almost double the cost of a reroll. But you also get a Blitzer, so... I mean, if you have 80k that you don't have anything else to do with, it's not bad. Because you get a Merc Blitzer, and Blitzers are good. But if you don't have any other use for that 80k, just grabbing a reroll with it isn't terrible. Although you could have, you could have had dodge or something to counteract the fact that he's loner. But this is a meat cube if I've ever seen one. But this mummy is like totally irrelevant now. He's so far away. We're gonna GFI even. I mean, he has a bunch of rerolls, so we can afford to GFI, I suppose. The induced rerolls are already always 100k though, right? Like the induced reroll is 100k, not like the cost of the reroll. This is a serious meat cube. But we can surf this guy if you're willing to block with the ball carrier. Which honestly is not terrible. You're pretty safe. It's another removal. You just need to be careful of this mummy, because this mummy probably will blitz you if you leave this guy where he is. Yeah, there you go. It's an 80k skill up, right? But yeah. Saved money, quote. Undead are in a bad spot here. Might as well reroll. You've got 1,000,000. This is a replay. This is a game that has already happened from last week. But the fact that he's the skill up costs 50, and then like the fact that it's a merc, like there's 30k somewhere, right? 30k for this the something. I don't know. I don't merc very often. Keep targeting those ghouls. If we can get a claw hit on that mummy at some point, it's probably another thing we want to aim for. Because these guys could come back, right? Like this drive is super under control of the chaos right now. But these KOs are pretty likely to recover, and at least, as long as one of them does, the undead aren't really down any player, or two of them, the undead aren't down any players. Because we have a surf and an injury, so there's a bench of 2 available. Yeah, so there you go. 30k. There's the 30k somewhere. So I guess, yeah, the skill is 50k. Four plus dodge, but we're going for it because we have 1,000,000 rerolls. We're gonna 1-die. Oh, and we find it. I kind of missed exactly how that happened, but I think there was a better way, because now we can just we can punt this. I think is probably what you do as the undead here. Nope, they don't punt it. There might have been a better way to make that dodge harder, but or at least make this like, safer. Like you could have made the block harder. People who, let me pause this for a sec. When players are in situations like this, when they have very few moves left, they will just make the move, right? Like if this undead had other options, he probably wouldn't have made the 4 plus dodge 1-die, but since he had nothing else to do, he will make the 4 plus dodge 1-die. You have to count on the fact that your opponent is going to do that because they have nothing else they can do, right? If he had more players, this was probably fine because he was less likely to, he wasn't likely to try to make the low percentage play. But since he had no players, he's more likely to try the low percentage play, and it happened to work out in this case. Like I think I would have focused more on making the block harder, like trying to make this a 2-die or making him not capable of, or an uphill, or making him not capable of getting there as easily, rather than just make the dodge harder because of that specific situation where like I know next turn my opponent is going to click on that ghoul and click on the ball. Like I know that's going to happen. There's nothing else that he can do. So I might as well try to make that as hard as possible. I don't think it's an incredibly terrible mistake because it was a low percentage play, certainly, but you do have to be aware of that. Oh, we are going to crunch this ghoul. It's a 3-die, and he has a wrestle, so pretty easy to knock the ball out of his hands. Mighty Blow on armor 7 stuns him. I'm super surprised. Oh, if you fail this pickup, that's bad. I'm super surprised that Ghoul didn't just wang it, like, down here. You should have just thrown it. Because it was really easy for you to get control of that again. With all the players you have down here, I would have just, like, hucked it and hoped. Because you're not going to do anything as the undead here. Like, you can't get this ball. You're not going to win. I would have just hurled it, probably. KO'd the mummy. Like, so there's a lot of removals. None of these are permanents is the thing to be aware of, right? This drive is like securely in your hands. Unless you fail this pickup and you have no rerolls. So this is a 1 in 6. So it's actually not impossible. So that's really scary for me, is trying to 1 in 6ing this with no rerolls. If only you didn't uphill the mummy, maybe you'd have a reroll for this. One thing you can do to try to negate this, at least, is put another guy in this square, so if it does happen to scatter there, you have a chance of... Like, I would surround this ball and then try to pick it up, so if it does happen to scatter, you have at least a shot of it being a touchdown anyway. But, like, it's a 1 in 6 to fail. It's pretty likely to work. We'll see. This is really greedy. All these blocks are kind of greedy, though, considering you haven't picked up the ball yet. At least they haven't failed. Oh, there we go. Nailed it. That was just unlucky, honestly. That was just unlucky, which is really unfortunate. It would have been the only thing, I think, that was maybe a mistake there, was the uphill block against the mummy, really. Because it didn't really accomplish anything, and you re-rolled it. If you had a reroll there, that would have been a 1 in 36, and you probably scored. So I think the uphill block was the major mistake there. Good news is one of the guard mummy remained out. The bad news is the undead are back to like full strength, right? Because you got a lot of removals, but none of them are permanents, is something you need to make sure you think about. And greed isn't bad, you just need to be careful with it. And take any advice coming out of my mouth about greed with a grain of salt, because I treat rerolls like they're coming directly out of my paycheck, and people make fun of me for that all the time. Like I'll finish games with like 2 rerolls left still. You're like, why? Like, why aren't you rerolling things? I'm like, because I don't wanna. I have a reputation for that. So I'm overly cautious sometimes, and it certainly hurts my play, but it's just my play style. A blitz. Wait, why are these guys on the line? I feel like that's also aggressive. Or that was because of the blitz? Probably because of the blitz that just occurred and I wasn't paying attention. No knockdown is unfortunate. Good news is there's no guard. So this is... well, he can get a 2-die there still on the claw piece. Because he just has to take away this anti-assist and he can 2-die it. And there isn't a good way to prevent that. But you are getting mighty blowed. And he's fine. Ball in the hands of the guard ghoul is interesting. I mean, I suppose it's the only block one. Like, you kind of want to utilize that guard, but putting it in the hands of the wrestle is certainly dumb. I would have considered giving it to the white, because strength 4 and block is hard to get the ball off of. Although he probably wants to do a lot of blitzing with that white. Well, that's a handy turnover. Because we now just have to block with this. Is this guard? There's no guard, is there? We have a lot of blocks, is what I'm about to get at. Ideally, we want to block. Ideally, we want to block this zombie with this beast, so that we can push him this way. Because if you block with this guy, we're gonna have to put him here, and you'd rather him be in this square so that you can actually get in here. So the ideal situation here, I think, is there's an injury, which is a big deal, and that's probably staying out, and it's not worth an Igor, but it is a removal. So now if we block this zombie here and push him here, or knock him down is even better. Or there, that works with the knockdown. If that wasn't a knockdown, that wouldn't have worked, but... And now we can two-die this ball. With this, oh, I see what we're doing. Never mind. Yeah, this is good. Pushing him here makes sense because we're using the tackle piece. I didn't see him for some reason. This is good. I might not have moved this guy because you didn't actually need him to be there as an assist, I don't think, because he's strength 4 on the blitz anyway, and there's no assists anywhere because you're blocking from this square. So I would have left this guy around as a potential recovery, I think, rather than putting him in that spot. Well, Dr. Spagooter is utilizing his 1,000 rerolls to greed. Oh, that's not nice. Fails the dodge though, and we've already rerolled, so we can't do anything about that. And he injures himself. Oh, unlucky for the undead. Lucky for the chaos, I guess. Ball scatter's in a really good spot though. That's gonna be like, it's still in 2 tackle zones, and we can't clear off both of them. Where is the Agi goat? Is the Agi goat not KO'd? He is, yeah. So this isn't actually that easy to remove. Although we can actually, you can chain push him. So if you put a player here and a player here, then you blitz this guy and you can chain push this guy off the ball. So that was a doable thing. Which I think I would have gone for. Injuring the white is a big deal. I mean, this is slightly greedier in that we're utilizing the Mighty Blow against a niggled player for removals rather than trying to get a hold of the ball. But it does remove an important player, so that's certainly not bad. But we could have set up a chain push here to free up the ball. But this is the I'm going to go for removals and then just make it hard for you to pick up play, which certainly isn't bad. This is probably better long term. The chain push is better short term, I think. Yeah, so we can push one tackle zone off. That's really all we can do. Everybody else is stuck. We're gonna roll some dice probably. Yeah, tries the zombie dodge and fails. He can afford to reroll it because he has a lot. It's a 75% with the reroll, but fails the reroll. And now we can go again for the chaos, and we have there we go. Now we chain pushing. No knockdown though, so we're gonna have to hit again. We're hitting with a blockless goat this time, but that's fine, because all we really need is a push, and it is a 2-die. One die before trying to do stuff with the ball. I would have done the ball first, and then I would have done that at the end. That was a 1 in 36. But still, like, 1 dies are risky, and you still had to make a block here and, you know, pick up the ball. Although we're gonna double skull on the mummy, so burning rerolls on both sides. But the mummy does find an armor break. This mummy is probably... well, you just have to stand up. This mummy is mostly irrelevant now, but he's at least safe from the claw for a turn. And he's just trying to make it as hard as possible for you to pick up that ball. Find the push. There we go. So we have the ball free. We can do something. We can pick up the ball now. I don't know if I would have gone for this either. I mean, it's fine. It's not unlikely to fail. I mean, now, even if you succeed this pickup here, you don't really have very many players to help you get it free. Man, like, you are incapable of picking up the ball today. I think I would have just tried to pick up the ball and then moved like this beast and the other beast that would have been free to like help screen it. You have enough players to like make this difficult. You can surf him now. Oh, and he 5+ pickup and he makes it. That was just lucky. And now it's on a block dodge piece, which is kind of annoying. And your only tackle is stuck up on the mummy. So that was well done of the undead for that turn to make sure your tackle was stuck. But honestly, that was just luck. That was 3+. He rolled 3 6s in a row. I'm not sure what happened there, but I'm sure there was a better way to deal with that than immediately attempting a dodge with no rerolls. Well, that's probably going to be game, surprisingly. Like, this looked very much in the hands of the Chaos for most of the game, honestly. And dad, insult to injury, we injured the tackle guy. This is just badly hurt. Game was mostly in control of the Chaos. I think there were 1 or 2 things that, like, while not critical errors, were certainly things that could have been done better. And a combination of just failing some key rolls and the undead making a string of 6s there happened. Sometimes Blood Bowl is Blood Bowl and strings of 6s occur. But there are certainly things that could have been done slightly better. Right, like making this a 1 in 36 instead of a 1 in 6 would have probably made this 1-1 at this point. And in worst case, it would have been a tie. We could have chain pushed earlier to try and get a hold of the ball earlier, which I think might have been worth it. Yeah, exactly. That's what I said before, Saima, right? Is that when players are in a position where they don't have any other plays, right? They have like 3... If players are in a position where their only play is to roll a string of 6s, they're gonna try it, right? And sometimes 6s happen, right? Like if this was still a 10 on 9 or a 10 on 8 sort of situation, like where the teams were a lot more even, it's unlikely that he even tried that play because he needed a 5+, right? It's not a likely play to do a 3+, 5+, 3+. So it's unlikely that he would have tried it. But since it's his only available option, he is absolutely going to. So you have to consider that that's the thing that your opponent is going to do, right? When players are desperate, they will probably make the desperate roll, and sometimes it works because dice are a thing. So it's always reasonable to think, right? Like, yeah, this is a dumb play, but my opponent probably will do it. What happens if it fails? Or what happens if it works? I mean, there's always something to be aware of. But a couple unlucky rolls. Yeah. This game honestly probably should have been 2-0. A couple of unlucky rolls. You know, sort of caused it to be 1-0 for the Undead, certainly. But there were things you could have done, I think, to have made it slightly more in your favor. I mean, I'm having a hard time putting it into words exactly what I mean, but I think you understand in that this game was lost/won because of some unlucky or lucky things at critical moments, but there were things you could have done to make those unlucky or lucky things less impactful, and maybe that might have changed it, even if the dice were still lucky or unlucky in some ways. You try to understand, if you understand what I'm getting at there. But yeah, that's going to be the game that we're taking a look from REL 7. I mean, we might as well watch the turn 16 to see if the Chaos get any more SPP out of it. I think that's the biggest thing, some greed decisions. I hope it was useful anyway. Just be aware that my advice is always going to be against greedy things because I'm an incredibly safe player. Oh, Rock Throne, injured. Bonk. I'm a very safe player, and I treat rerolls like they're coming directly out of my paycheck. Is a famous quote. So I'm probably too safe. So there is a balance between greed and safety you can take, and I often go the too safe route. Let's see if we can kill this mummy here. Yeah, it depends on the player. Some players will do things where they'll give up. I'm not going to roll this because I don't want my players to get hurt. But from my experience, the vast majority of players will try the bullshit play because they have nothing else they can do. But there are certain players that will just like stay on the floor or nice pass, idiot. Oh, that would have been unfortunate if it worked because it would have leveled them. Some players will try to keep their players alive. Some people will... Oh, it's unfortunate that he didn't get the injury on the zombie there because it would have leveled him. It's also unfortunate that the zombie got MVP because he should probably be dead. Oh no, he's okay. I don't... the injury must have regen and it's being a little buggy. Anyway, let's go take a look at REL 6 again, because we have watched the games and now we can overview the things that have occurred. So, last week, First and Forsaken Lions versus With a Rebel Yell. So this is Half Elf versus Undead. Both Shadorra and myself predicted the Half Elves would win this, and it was a 1-1 tie. So no points to either of us there. Surprisingly, the ridiculous thrower got MVP to level him though, and this is cheating, and I would just really want to see what he got. Kickoff return makes sense because he's a slow elf, being movement 6. But 4 passes, unsurprising. 4 catches, and somehow this only resulted in 1 touchdown. 39 blocks. No Undead taking any injuries or anything. High Elves getting a few removals, but not a crazy amount. I'm curious as to how this ended up 1-1. I feel like this should have been a High Elf victory. But well done to the Undead to keeping that to 1-1. Humans versus Orcs, Greenskin Brawlers, and 3 Cash, 3 Crew Revengeing. Both Shadorra and myself picked humans to win this, and they tied again. So more 0 points. Once again, crazy players getting MVPs, which is interesting. Black Orc got MVP, which is always a nice thing to see. You like Black Orc SPP. Let's see. Orcs outblocking the humans, unsurprising. Orcs outbashing the humans, unsurprising. Getting a kill could be a big deal, depending on who that player is. Yeah. I think this game is kind of how it went how we expected. In that the Orcs outblock, or outstrength, outbash the humans pretty strongly here. But the humans could had an elf game that they could play. And it looks like just the bash caught up to the humans before they could do too much. You know, if the Orcs went on offense here first and got a couple of good removals early, that could explain this instantly. But the Orcs outbashed the humans. Humans didn't score enough Elfie before they lost too many players, I think, is probably the outcome here. Yeah, I would fear dead rats as well. Then we had the Boss Hog Outlaws and Common Nightmares. So we predicted this was the one of the matches that I was going to look at if I wasn't told that this was an interesting one to look at, because this was the contentious pick from this division. I picked the Necro to win, and Shadorra picked the Chorfs to win, and turns out a winner is me, in that I will mark myself down a point, and I will mark down Justin a negative point. Because the Necro took this one. So 2-1 victory, Zombie getting MVP, and Hobgoblin getting MVP. So two Lino MVPs accomplishing not much there. But let's see. More ball possession for the Necro. Slightly more blocks, but more permanent removals, I think, right? So 2 KOs, 1 casualty, and a death versus 3 KOs, a casualty. And if the Necro are keeping up with Chorfs in removals, then Necro are probably going to win, because they have things like werewolves and ghouls who are very speedy and can sort of outpace the Chorf game pretty strongly, assuming that they keep even on removals, right? The Chorfs win this by removing more probably, and out bullying, out punching, out controlling the Necro, and with similar number of blocks. Like, they didn't even outblock them, so I think that probably is the story there. I do not enjoy playing against Chorfs personally, although I get to play Chorfs this week, I think, in clan. We even last minute switched me onto the Chorfs, so yeah, there you go. I don't know, it's just there's a couple teams that, like, I'm relatively confident against playing. Like, I don't think Chorfs are crazy broken or anything. Like, I think I have a good chance playing against the Chorfs this week. It just, they're one of the teams that I don't have fun playing against. Lizards being the other one, right? Even in matches where I'm like favored, like my Nurgle versus Lizards, where if I remove Saurus I win the game, it's just I don't find them fun to play, and the Chorfs are one of those matchups for me. Then we have the match we just watched, another Bloody Bell versus Wood United. So the prediction for both of us was Wood Elves. So there goes my point that I just earned, because we predicted against Grey Wesker, and well, we were wrong. Serves us right. Then we had Starry Fight and Orcsploitation Cinema. So this is Chorfs and Lizards. Wait, no, this is the wrong matchup. This is the Chorfs versus Lizards. This is the humans versus Lizards. Why is this? Oh, because this already occurred, right? I was like, why isn't this on my prediction list? Because this match had already been played, I think, when we went here. When we went to look at the prediction, so we didn't predict one for this one because it had already been played. But we will, so no prediction there. Lizards are fine. Like, I don't think they're a terrible team or anything, right? Like, and I don't particularly fear facing them. I just don't have fun doing it, right? It's like this weird combination. Like, in a bash matchup, it's a bash matchup, cool. In like an agi matchup, it's an agi matchup, cool. And like, it's the same thing with Necro, I find. Like, I don't like playing Necro either, because they have that weird combination of strong players and fast players, and I never really know what to do, right? And then it's like, oh my god, there's just so much strength 4 in the way, and it's hard to get through. But like, as Nurgle, if you just break a Saurus or two, you win the game, it turns out, because Saurus are so important. But it's just, it's like annoying to play against. It's like just not particularly fun for me. It's that weird combination of like fast players and strong players that I find strange to deal with. Anyway, so we'll look at this game. Blitzer picked up MVP to level him, which is a big deal because he's already he's got jump up. So I'd be very surprised if we don't have piling on here. Or he leveled to get jump up, I guess. Must have been the level there. Or no, he didn't level. I don't know what I'm talking about. He just got MVP, which brings him closer to piling on, which is good. And a Blitzer, who also didn't level up. But Blitzer SPP is always good. They tend to hog it. You'd like it to go to Black Orcs, but it's certainly better than Line Orcs. Dwarves outblocking the Orcs, which is sort of not unexpected, because it's very much guard spammy. 2 casualties sustained for the Orcs is surprising, because no Claw on the Dwarf team, so it's just going to be Mighty Blow spam. And Mighty Blow spam against Armor 8 isn't, or Armor 9 isn't incredible, but I mean, that tells the story of the game, right? Dwarves outblocking Orcs, out KOing, out removing Orcs. Dwarves will win. And then we have Snake Kitties and Hausdorff's Homewreckers. So this is a match I was thinking of where we had Chorfs versus Lizards. We predicted the Chorfs would win this because Chorfs versus Lizards is just a Chorf matchup. Claw is the bane of a Lizard team. And yeah, so that's a point for both of us. In a Chorf 2-0 victory. Saurus MVP is nice because, you know, Saurus SPP is hard to come by sometimes. Chorfs actually didn't get that many blocks, surprisingly. So Lizard's doing well to control the pitch, but this might be also the cause of that. So 7 casualties, 2 deaths, and 3 KOs. This Lizard team got utterly brutalized. So that this lack of blocks succeeded may more be because of this ludicrous removal rate rather than and so there's just nothing left to block rather than not getting good blocks, or very many of them. That is not great armor. Lizards getting utterly brutalized in that game. So Snake Kitties, sorry man, but you just that is a rough game. But everybody has to play Chorfs at some point, and it was your turn, I guess. And then we have the Wayside Warmongers and the Scaled Measure. So this is humans versus lizards. We both predicted lizards would take this, considering it's lizards versus ogres. And well, the lizards won. Wait, ogres? No, this is humans. I just saw ogre and thought ogre. But we did predict the lizard would win this because this is a pretty broken human team, if I recall correctly. And the lizards, this is a gross lizard team. This is the lizard team with like 4 strength 5 players. It's a little ridiculous how strong they are. Kermit Joe Frog getting MVP, which is a little annoying. He's also strength busted, which is a thing. Strength 1 is pretty terrible. I mean, you just have, if you can be really careful with keeping him off the pitch, it's fine, but you're gonna have to maintain a big bench for that, and your team is already expensive, so and you know, bench as a lizards is also expensive. The strength 1 is pretty terrible. Strength 3 players get a natural 3 die against you. Like, he's just gonna be a pretty big liability on defense, but he is a monster on offense. That is 3-0 for Scaled Measures. Wayside Wondermongers just never really had the ball. Lizards had it the whole time. Lizards doing the control game thing, and certainly outpitch controlling the humans. More blocks. Surprisingly, they took a good number of removals, which is interesting. But the lizards managing to do lizard things and control the pitch and win. Yeah, I see that you took some injuries there. I don't know what they were on, but I assume one of them is the strength bust. That strength bust is not fun. So I think that's all the prediction, or the results from REL 6. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And 2 are ties. Yep, that makes sense. So after 1 week, this is what the leaderboards look like. We have not Nylock, Randomus Namus, Hariku, Grey Wusker, and Rumblebee tied for first with 1 win apiece. Then we have JJ Cash, Arcade Blaze, Professor Chaos, and Jaspersaurus Rex in the middle with draws, and then Josh Schuttenheim, Luke, Vulpes and Colta, and Teddy Rose bringing up the rear with 1 loss. Although, and the Wayside Warmongers are on a different page. Philosophical. And there you go. That's what many weeks to go. 12 weeks to go. So these could change very significantly. But shall we look at next week and make some predictions? Gotta make sure I write these down. Oh, my pen is dying. Normally Shadorra does this, but he is not here, so I have to make the notes. Ugh, I have to do everything this week. I have to talk, I have to record, I have to edit, and I have to make the notes. God, so much work. Stupid Shadorra not accomplishing anything. Anyway, so we've got With a Rebel Yell and Another Bloody Bell. So we've got the Skaven, and we've got the Undead. Big, scary Undead team. Piling on Muddy Blow. There's no tackle, is the interesting thing here. And we've got Skaven. Strip Ball is a big deal. Do we have Sure Hands on the side of the Undead? Because that makes a big difference here. We do. There's Sure Hands on the Agi 4 ghoul. So there is no tackle, and the Skaven are going to get a crazy amount of inducements. Which is big points in favor of the Skaven, honestly. Skaven inducements are pretty good. You can have a 5th Gutter Runner. There's also Glart. Wizards are really good with Skaven when you have the capabilities of recovering with the Gutter Runners. We've got, although there's a lot of... he's going to have to get a couple bench, I think, to deal with this. There's a couple Mighty Blow. There's a Mighty Blow piling on behalf of the Undead. The Guard is a big deal as well. And the Sure Hands. This is surprisingly difficult to call. I'm gonna go a little risky here, and then go with Skaven. Honestly, I'm gonna predict Grey Wesker. I just watched him play against a really good game against the Wood Elves, so I believe. I feel like Shadorra is gonna pick Undead as well, so we get a contentious pick here. I think the big thing is he gets a crazy amount of inducements, and there's no tackle on the Undead team. Like the Skaven are gonna take casualties, and they're gonna take casualties, but they shouldn't actually have a terribly difficult time scoring. So they're gonna play that like elf game where they just try to outscore the opponent before they lose too many players. And we'll see if it works. Boss Hog Outlaws and Starry Fight. So we have Volpez's Chaos Dwarves. No Claw, 3 Guard, versus the Dwarfs of Rumblebee. So it's 1500 Dwarves versus 1500 Chaos Dwarves. If the Chaos Dwarves have Claw at all, this becomes massively Chaos Dwarf favored, but they don't. And so it becomes, and the Bull Centaurs are certainly good, that strength 4 matters. And one of them is Blodge, which is ridiculous, but they don't really have... They're going to be ball carrying on Hobgoblins. So this kind of becomes like a dwarf team with less dwarves versus dwarves. Because of the lack of the similar guard, the Mighty Blow spam won't do that much against the dwarf team. I think I want to give this to the dwarves. Then we have Greenskin Brawlers and Snake Kitties. We have Professor Chaos's Orcs. Pretty standard Orcs, a lot of block. And the Snake Kitties, who are the lizard team that is not much of a team anymore. Oof. Oh, that's gonna be Orcs. I mean, in the Orc Lizard matchup, it becomes a like control-y pitch game. You got to utilize out strength your opponent, because that's your advantage there, is you've got all this strength 4 with movement 6. But it turns out when you're missing 3 of them and you only actually have 3 and one of them doesn't have block, you're going to get outstrengthed by the Orcs. You're going to get a lot of inducements. You get 500k in inducements, which is ludicrous. In general, I think people are too focused on Claw as well, but it turns out that when your biggest strength is armor 9, or one of your big strengths is armor 9, like how you counter that is Claw, right? It's like tackle in Elves, right? You know, my big strength is that I'm Blodge. Okay, well I have tackle, so you're not dodge anymore. Like my big strength is I'm armor 9, well I have Claw, so you're not armor 9 anymore. Is like the counter. Is like in the Chorf versus Dwarf matchup, Claw matters a lot. Is what I'm trying to say. They got Chorfed really hard. So they're gonna get 500k inducements, which is ridiculous. So they can get Mercsaurus, but they won't have block. They can get Slibley, who's a really good player, but you can't get back up to a full complement of Saurus, I think, regardless of what you do. So I think I want to give this one to Orcs, just because the Saurus are so important in that matchup, and not having all of them is going to be a big deal. And we have the First and Forsaken Lions versus the Wayside Warmongers. So this will be interesting, We've got the crazy stat up passy elf humans versus the crazy stat up passing high elves. $1740 versus 1700. They're similar matchups. So the humans are going to want to play the bash game here, but they have the capability to keep up with the elves, which is certainly a big deal. It's a good question. So the high elves are nice here in that they're armor 8 rather than armor 7 like most other elves, so they're not as weak to Mighty Blow. And there are two good removal players on the human team, and the humans actually have the speed to sort of outspeed the elves, surprisingly, because they're high elves and these humans have a lot of stat ups. It's hard. I think I want to give it to humans, maybe a little controversially. The elves probably have an advantage here, I think, but they're going to be able to get outbashed by the humans. And they're also going to get outsped by the humans, so they're going to have to rely on their passing pretty hard, I think. I know, right? This human thrower is absolutely insane. Yeah, no Shadorra this week. He's sick, so it's just me, sadly. Then we have 3 cash, 3 crew versus the scaled measures. So we've got Not Nihilok's ludicrous lizards. Although he suffered a couple important injuries. So he's going to be missing Drome Sauridae. He's going to be missing Kermit Frog. But he does have still 4 Strength 5 on this team. Just so everybody's aware, it's 4 Strength 5 players. Versus these 1830 humans. Also crazy stat up humans. The humans in this division are ridiculous, by the way. Like, both of them. These are just elves. These aren't humans anymore. They're just elves. So let's see. What are inducements here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we're actually gonna get 3 skanks. So that's another 180k, right? So we're going to be at 1680 and the humans are at 1830. So we are 2050. That's just wizard, right? That's not Slibbly. I don't think we can get Slibbly. 2 guard, but a lot of strength 5. Versus 3 guard. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9, 10, 11, 12. This is also hard. I think this is going to be annoying for the lizards, and that's probably just because they took a couple injuries last game and they're going to be missing players. I don't think it's impossible for the lizards, especially. This player is pretty important for the humans, being both Agi 4, Mighty Blow Tackle, and Guard. If this guy goes down, the lizards have a huge shot at this. Also, this Blitzer. I guess the benefit for the lizards is that these 2 guys are not going to be wanting to bash very much, or this guy isn't going to want to bash very much. That brings them down to 3 sort of bash players plus the ogre. But the lizards being down a few currently, I think, makes a difference here. Especially being out the Blitzer is going to be big, and being out the like 1-turner skink. I'm going to go human again. Sorry, not Nihilok. But I think this is going to be a hard one for you. Then we have Common Nightmares and the House Dorf's Home Wreckers. So we have the Chaos Dwarfs that did a number on the Snake Kitties. But they are going to be missing 2 Chaos Dwarves, which is big, right? Because they're going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Nope, they're just not going to be replaced, right? So he's just down 2 guard, 2 block, tackle, thick skull, armor 9 players. One of them is claw, mighty blow. One of them is guard, stand firm. So being down 2 guard players is a big start. And that's against the Common Nightmares, who is the Necro team. Who have 3 guard of their own and some strength because of the flesh golems. 4. And there's some injuries and stuff here. There's despite the Chorfs being out, they still outguard the wolves or the Necro. And the wolves aren't crazy killer wolves, so they're probably not going to be removing any more Chorfs, so the guard advantage is probably going to stay with the Chorfs for most of this. But we do have a good shot at removals with zombies here. I don't know. I think the coin flip is going to be massive here. If the Chorfs go first, I think they win. If the Necro go first, I think they win, because they're going to... whoever wins the draw is going to foul somebody. Certainly. If we can remove like another Chorf early on, like with a foul or something, then the Necro have a big advantage because they go down to 3 guard, or well, I mean 6 guard, but 3 of them are pretty squishy without block. Oops, wrong team. This is hard. This is an interesting match, honestly, because the Necro are aggressively outguarded, but they have a massive bench. The Blodge Surehands Ghoul is useful. Blodge White is useful. The Blodge Tackle Werewolves are useful. The Tackle is less useful in this particular matchup. This is really hard. This is where Shadorra would pick one, and then I would pick the other one just to be contentious. But this is really hard. My gut says Necro, so we're gonna go with Necro. And then we have, man, this is taking a lot longer than I expected. Although I suppose I also started late because I had some technical problems at the start. Wood United and Orcsploitation Cinema. So we've got Das Schuttenheim with his 1930 orcs. Sure Hands. Strip Ball, Strength 5, Rake Tackle. Oh my god. Leork Neaston is gross. Tackle piling on Mighty Blow. This stupid Chork Norris, who I hate so much, and he's probably just trolling me by having. Versus the Wood United. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So there's another 70k there. So this is really 1740. So they get 190k. So they can wizard, which is certainly valuable. There's only one tackle, which is a big deal, because they're gonna have a hard time hitting this. Jesse run through, yeah, is gonna have a hard time running through some players. But we do have the guard, and we have Sure Hands and Agi 5. It's gonna be hard to get the ball off the orcs, so it's gonna be hard to make those Wood Elf plays. And Leork Neeson is just like an aggressive war dancer. He has a pretty easy time getting the ball off the players, the Wood Elf players as well. If he can catch up to them, certainly, I think, is the big deal. The big deal there. The Wood Elves are going to have the speed advantage, certainly. I think I'm going to give this to Orcs because of those crazy stat players. Alright, let's move on to REL 7. I have a feeling me and Shadorra are going to be picking very different teams for this one. Last time we did this like separate prediction thing, we both basically predicted totally opposite. So we'll find out what happened, I guess. So, let's see what happened here. So, Old World Wardens and Sugar and Spikes. Oh, this was a buy, so I guess that doesn't matter. Yield Guard versus Reality Kings is a thing I think we predicted. There we go. So this was a Nurgle versus Kislev match. We both predicted the Kislev would win, and they did. So that is a 3-1 victory for the Kislev. MVP goes to Money Talks and levels him. MVP to a Nurgle Warrior, which is always nice. Nurgle certainly had the ball, but they couldn't manage to convert it into more than just one touchdown. Reality Kings doing elf things. This is Super Fez really gross. Kislev team. You know, he didn't really have the ball very often. He didn't really make that many blocks, but it turns out when you're basically elves, you just pick it up and score. And he certainly did. Right? Despite not holding the ball very much, despite getting severely outblocked, he won 3-1, which is sort of what you expect with like elfy Kislev. We had Rats against Teen Stars and Stump Force, where this is Dwarves versus Rats. Or this is the wrong, I just clicked on the wrong match. Interestingly enough, we were both wrong here. We predicted that the Dwarves would win this. Both of us did. And looks like the Skaven took this one. So MVP to the Gutter Runner, MVP to an injured Longbeard, which is kind of annoying. Dorfs had the ball most of the time, outblocked the Skaven, but the Skaven managed to sneak in some touchdowns before they lost too many players, I think, is what occurs here. 2 injuries, not taking as many casualties as I would have expected against the Dwarves, so that's always a thing that certainly helps the Skaven. Looks like the Skaven managed to score enough, though. Mordheim Crypt Horrors versus the Hornstars, we watched. This is the other contentious one. I predicted that the Undead would win, and Shadorra predicted that the Chaos would win, so both contentious picks this week go to me. So I'm going to be up 4 points after week 1, which is a pretty big deal in our prediction and competition. Hello, Colin. Yes, the team is called Reality Kings, and they're all named after, like, porn things. Captain Stabbin, Milf Hunter, Come Fiesta, Anger, Team Squirt, Toad of Toad Hall, Money Talks, Happy Tugs, RK Prime, HD Love, Clown, and In the VIP. Some of these were players that were purchased, such as Toad of Toad Hall, from other teams, so they don't fit the theme, and I think that's very funny. And we had One Punch Ogre and Squeaky Blinders. We predicted that the Skaven would win this, and they certainly did, because Skaven versus Ogres. Noblar getting MVP. The loner Noblar who got injured getting MVP is really unfortunate because he's not worth keeping. Yeah. Storm Vermin getting MVP is nice. Storm Vermin MVPs, or Storm Vermin SPP is already good. Ogres made a successful pass and catch, which is funny. But they got 35 blocks and they inflicted some injuries. And that's sort of what we expected, is that the Ogres would crunch some rats while losing. However, it looks like they didn't crunch as many as expected and lost quite a few, but those are mostly all snotlings, I would imagine. Ogre's not finding a touchdown somewhere, but the Rats controlling that game pretty heftily. Ogre's never really had the ball. Thanks, Shauna, for having me for that. It's a mostly irrelevant prediction competition, but it's certainly fun. Then we had Crypt Lords 2, Boogaloo, and Salty Chips. So this is Dark Elves versus Necro. We both predicted the Dark Elves would win this, and they won. 3-1. The Salty Chips. 4 passes, 4 catches. Severely outblocked, like almost 3-1. And taking 6 casualties and a death for it. But they won anyway, so it's the tale as old as time of elves versus punchy teams, where the punchy team beat the elves to an absolute pulp, but the elves managed to win through virtue of being elves and scoring anyway. Although these are dark elves, so they're slightly more robust than like your sort of standard elf. And this is a really good dark elf team, so I'm not surprised they managed to take the win, but I am surprised they took as much damage as they did. And then we have the Bash and Lizzies and All Bark No Bite. So this is Welves, Wood Elves versus Lizards. We predicted the Wood Elves would win this, and the Lizards won it. So -1 to both of us there. Mostly we predicted it because there's some good Wood Elf players here, And Lizards versus Wood Elves is kind of unfavored for Lizards in the first place. But a win for the Lizards. Not a very block light game, but that's not unsurprising considering Wood Elves. 12 blocks, 28 blocks. Taking 7 casualties. That would probably explain why the Wood Elves lost. The opposite tale of before. Couldn't score enough before they lost too many players to make it too hard to continue. 7 casualties and a death. Poor Wood Elves. Managing to score at least once, and MVP on the Word Answer puts him scoring range away from leveling, which is very easy for Word Answers to do. 6 turns, first 5 players out. Well, there you go. That explains the game, right? It's if Wood Elves lose too many players before they score enough, it's hard for them to come back and win, and it looks like that's what occurred here. So after 1 week of games, we've got tied for first 7 teams, tied for second 7 teams. Superfed, Angry, Weeknight Wizard, Rando Maximus, Glomar, Razzlestorm, Dr. Spagooters, all with 1 win. PDX Bosco, David Leclerc, My Nemo 1, Redbeard, Yayo, Tetsuya, and One Punch Ogre, Gypsy Prince. Tied for second, also last. Oops, didn't mean to back out of that. One Punch Ogre, I think, is my favorite team, partially because they're ogres, and partially because these are Discord emotes. So when the match bot reports show up, this doesn't say One Punch Ogre. It shows the number 1, a fist, and then an ogre face as the team name in Discord. It's pretty incredible. So we have the Old World Wardens, which I believe is the I'm surprised that was a buy last week. I don't remember Tetsuya being here last week. He was the college champion last season, 2 seasons ago. Last season, I think. Anyway, point was, I was going to toot my own horn in that I predicted him to win the college playoffs in round 1 of the college playoffs, and I was right. So, points for me. Wasn't able to schedule. That makes sense. So Old World Wardens and the Reality Kings. So we've got Undead, relatively new player in Tetsuya, college champion, however. A lot of guard, versus the most ridiculous Kislev team you've ever seen. I mean, I don't think anybody would blame me for giving that to Kislev and Superfed. We have Rats Against Teen Stars versus Sugar and Spice. We have Razzlestorm, and we have Weeknight Wizard. So this is Skaven versus Orc. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So Skaven don't get any bonuses here. They're missing their thrower, which makes a difference, but they still have their Agi 5 Gutter Runner. And they have the Claw Mighty Blow Storm Vermin available to hurt some orcs. It depends on how much Mighty Blow I think we have here. It's a relatively fresh orc team. There's not a whole lot of development here, but they've got the Sure Hands Thrower. They've got enough guard on the blitzers, so they're speedy enough to make the cage dives disincentivized, and they've got two Mighty Blow. One of them is Mighty Blow piling on tackle. I think this is going to be a hard one for the Skaven, right? Despite having the leap, despite having the strip ball, these guys are both strength 2 that they're going to be diving into cages. Servilum has followed. Appreciate that. I think this is going to be hard for the Skaven. These are all really good gutter runners, but they're kind of countered pretty severely by the orc team. This Storm Vermin could do work, but he's gonna have to do work. If this Storm Vermin doesn't do work, the orcs are gonna, I think, run all over this. So I'm gonna go with orc. There's even a troll for extra Mighty Blow, but these guard blitzers are gonna be huge, covering that cage. And if we can neutralize that Claw Storm Vermin, then the orcs have this pretty strongly, I think. We have Horn Stars and Ye Olde Guard, so we've got the 1760 Nurgle versus Chaos. So we have a bench here. We have 3 guard, No claw, 3 mighty blow, decent amount of block, good ball carrier. Versus 1830 chaos. It eventually Nurgle becomes a better kill team than chaos. Or a better control team, I guess, because you get things like foul appearance and you get the beast of Nurgle, who's really good. But the beastmen are better than Rotters certainly, and they're more capable of doing things. There's 3 guard here, but we also have two extra strength 4 and the agi 4. I wouldn't hate playing this matchup as Nurgle, but because I kind of outstrength you a little bit, not very much honestly, and I have slightly more amounts of guard, and things like foul appearance actually come into play here, because like at like a 2000 TV Nurgle team versus a 2000 TV Chaos team, the Nurgle team is probably slightly better off. But I think I'm going to give this one to Chaos, because I don't think this Nurgle team is built for playing against Chaos, and I don't think it's built for playing against my Nemo's Chaos in particular. Right, he's got 3 guard, he's got some block, but he's going to get outstrengthed by the... but the Chaos also have 3 guard, and they have more strength, and they have more removal potential, and they have a really good ball carrier. Oh, that's dangerous. So we have Squeaky Blinders and Stump Force. So Squeaky Blinders is a great team name. It's Random Maximus's Skaven, and we have Stump Force, the Dwarves. Well, we predicted Dwarves last time against Skaven, and it certainly didn't work out, so maybe I have to go the other way now. Strip Ball is not going to be amazing versus the Dwarf's Sure Hands, and all this dodge is not going to do a whole lot versus the Dwarf Tackle. If there's Mighty Blow spam here, which there isn't actually. There's only one in the Troll Slayer, but we also have a Death Roller, which is hilarious. I love Death Rollers. He's a block Death Roller too. The Sure Hands makes a difference. The Guard makes a difference. It's going to be hard for the Skaven to steal the ball from the Dwarves, but if the Skaven ever do, the Dwarves are in real trouble because they have no way of catching up to these Gutter Runners, and they're honestly not likely to get that many removals, considering there's actually a bench, and there's no Mighty Blow really on the half of the Dwarves. And the Death Roller is going to be difficult to utilize against Skaven. If you field it on defense, the Skaven just score really fast. If you score it on offense, the Skaven can outrun it pretty easily. What are the inducements looking like? They're actually dead even. They don't get any extra players, and I don't think the Dwarves get any extra players, and they are dead even. Oh, there's 2 Mighty Blow. Tackle is a big deal. The Gutter Runners are like... The offensive drive for the Dwarves is going to be huge. If the Dwarves can get removals on their offensive drive, then they should be in really good shape, especially since the Gutter Runners aren't really capable of removing the ball from the Dwarves very easily. But the defensive drive is going to be really hard for the Dwarves. Like, the Skaven are just going to score whenever they want to, and the Dwarves aren't really going to be able to do anything about it. But the offensive Dwarf drive is going to be really important for them. And if that goes well, it could be really good for the Dwarves. I could easily see this going either way. I'm going to go Dwarf. Because I think if the offensive drive goes well, like the Skaven I think are relying on the offensive drive not going well to win, basically. But the Skaven could easily run away with this. They could just score, and the Skaven are going to be able to score very quickly. And the Dwarves need the offensive drive to go well, but if it does go well, I think they just win. Then we have the Salty Chips and the Mordheim Crypt Horrors. So this is Angre's Dark Elf team, and we have Dr. Spagooter's Undead. The Undead team, or the Dark Elf team, is a little beat up, but they still have Agi 6. The important players are still around. They're not missing anybody crazy important. That Agi 5 and Agi 6 is just going to be incredible. Drop your reroll, man. You don't need it. The mummies are mostly useless against dark elves. They're just gonna dodge away and then run away, and they can't catch up. The ghouls are gonna be a little vulnerable to the blitzers. There's a lot of blodge. There's only 2 tackle. There is guard, but it's on ghouls, meaning the ghouls are gonna get hit by the dark elves. There's no mighty blow on behalf of the dark elves, but those are some good dark elf players, man. I think I want to go dark elf. The Agi 5, Agi 6 are really difficult to deal with. These witch elves are incredible at getting the ball. Even off like sure hands, which I don't think we have. There's blodge step, which is a problem for the dark elves, I think, because there's not a whole lot of tackle. There is 1, but this is a strength 4. Like, this is sort of poor man's tackle. It's a pretty easy 2-die with frenzy on the ghoul if they get a shot at it. This is a great ball carrier. A lot of agi available. I think I want to go dark elves. We have all bark no bite versus 1 punch ogre. So we have both over here, right? Yeah, so we have wood elves versus ogres. Wood elves, I don't know what you want me to tell you. They're ogres. Couple agi 5. This ward answer is going to kill a snotling every turn. Careful with piling on your snotlings though, because they will not hesitate to zero assist value because they're snotlings and they're worthless. But he will kill a snotling like every turn. And the wood elves are just gonna run away from the ogres. I mean, it's wood elves versus ogres. The ogres are gonna get a bunch of mighty blow hits, but only on the line. Jimmy left foot is gonna be super annoying to get the ball off of if he does happen to get it. But like, if he does get it, you just score. Like, you shouldn't have too hard a time scoring. And it turns out there, despite Jimmy Leftfoot being incredible, he's still an ogre. It is, and he's also incredible. Look at him. Agi 3, Strength 6, Break Tackle Juggernaut. He's incredible. Jimmy Leftfoot is my favorite ogre. But the ogres are going to have no bench, and you're going to kill a snotling every turn, and eventually they're only going to have ogres, and then they're going to lose. It's not even about the boneheads. Like on average, he's gonna bonehead once a turn because there are 6 ogres, and he only has 2 rerolls to deal with that. It's also that this ward answer is movement 8, mighty blow, tackle, block. He gets a strength 3, so he gets a natural 3 die against any snotling. All of which will go down to anything but triple skulls. Or triple pushes or whatever, and you're getting mighty blow against armor 5. So it's armor 4, or if you break armor, which is pretty likely considering it's armor 5 plus 1 on the injury. So you're gonna annihilate every snotling, and then he's only gonna have ogres left. Like, the only bad thing about that, I guess, is that Jimmy Leftfoot is a surprisingly not bad ball carrier because he's agi 3 and break tackle. Like, this guy is the scary, annoying one. He's really difficult to get the ball off of, but, you know, there's a chance of him boneheading, and there's only 2 team rerolls. And so he's not going to necessarily want to use them on pickups. He probably wants to save them for boneheads. Then you have your elves capable of sneaking in and stealing it. Your dodges are going to be incredibly easy because the snotlings don't really count as tackle zones. Oh, that's interesting. I'd like to watch, but I don't think I can stay up. Maybe I'll watch a bit, but I can't stream it because I'm gonna have to go to bed soon. Then we have the Bash and Lizzies, and yeah, Andy has no tackle. He's gonna hit with his biggest thing is that he's gonna get 3 ogre blocks, probably 3 dies on your lineman every time you score. Is really the only thing that is scary, right? Like, the line blocks is the only scary part of that entire matchup. Because the rest of the time, you're just going to run away from ogres, and they're not going to be able to do anything. But there's Jimmy Leftfoot, who is strength 6, agi 3, and there's the 3 line blocks every time you score. Then we have the Bash and Lizzies and Crypt Lords 2 Boogaloo. So we've got over here, I think. Yeah, we got Necro and Lizards that are both dead even. So Necro are a bit of an issue against Lizards. They can keep up with your Skinks because of movement 8. And the Werewolves are going to eat Saurus for breakfast. Especially this one, which is Claw Mighty Blow. Flesh Golems can do good work at tying up a Saurus or two. And reducing the number of Saurus Lizards have is a very big deal for winning against Saurus. Ghouls can also keep up with Skinks pretty easily and have easy time blocking them, because they are strength 2. Zombies are cheap fodder that can tie up Saurus as well. But we've got very few block Saurus, I think, is the big problem here, right? So these guys are going to be easy to tie up with zombies, probably, or flesh golems. And the Kroxigor is very useful. And the Skinks are sidestep, and Agi 4 Skinks are always scary. It turns out Agi 4 Stunties can pull off nonsense because it's a sort of 2+ to go wherever you want. You have to be careful of that. How much tackle is available on this team? There's a tackle white, which is a big deal, and this, so he can hunt Saurus and he can hunt Skinks. And we're not particularly afraid to frenzy ourselves into 1-dies because a lot of the Saurus don't have block. Once again, not incredibly easy. The teams are basically dead even. There's no real inducements to talk about. I think I want to give this to Necro because the teams are essentially even, but a lot of the Lizard, in terms of TV, but a lot of the Lizard TV is on Skinks. I thought this was a Skink for a second. It's a Saurus, but he has dodge, not tackle. Or dodge, not block. A lot of the TV is tied up in Skinks. I think we talked about this last week, in that I would consider dropping a Skink to go to 1 bench rather than having 13, because it's a lot of TV tied up on Skinks. So any removals from the Necro are going to be massive, and a lot of the Necro value is on their good players, and a lot of the Lizard value is on their Skinks. So I think the Skinks being so much TV here are a bit of a problem for the Lizards. Low-key AB9. So I'm gonna go with Necro on this one. As well. Sorry about that. Little cough. Because I think that the TV is in the right place on the Necro team, and it's being a little bit inefficiently used on the Lizard team currently because of all those Skinks. I would cut one of these Skinks. Like, this Skink doesn't need to exist, probably. Or you could dump just one of the rookie Skinks. But you don't need to. I don't think you need 2 catch Skinks. You could easily save 80k here and drop down to 1510, and then that becomes 1480, and then suddenly you have babes available and that kind of thing, which kind of is a big deal, right? If you go out Saurus or and they don't come back, you will lose, as you need the Saurus to push around the Necro. So not having the Saurus available is how you lose that game. So going down Saurus and not having them come back is going to be a massive problem. Could also Wizard, which could be a big deal. So I would consider that Glomar is dropping down, dropping a Skink, and then maybe playing the inducement game a little bit. Anyway, that is going to be that. We will be back next week. Should be on Tuesday. Normally, our normal days are Tuesday, but we screwed it up a little bit this week. Thanks for hanging out with me. I really appreciate it. It's a good time. I have a good time talking about it, and I hope you guys like it as well. Don't forget to give us a poke if your match was particularly interesting, whether it be a good game, a fun game to watch, included a bunch of nonsense, or is just, hey, my game was ogres. please watch it. Any of those are valid reasons. Feel free to give us a poke and maybe we'll take a look at it. Not for next week, because next week is going to be team review again, but the week after. Feel free to give us a poke when you have matches scheduled and stuff as well too. I'm the only one who does the streaming, so it has to fit into my schedule for me to cover your game specifically, but if I can, I will certainly try. So feel free to give me a poke when your games are scheduled and I'll do my best. Until next time, I've been Steakmittens. I'll see you then.